My earliest memories are in Vienna just before Christmas. The wonderful sound of that snow crunching underfoot and the magic of those windows lit up with the most fabulous presents. And it's got a certain smell. Remember that very well. My dad, though not Jewish, was of Jewish extraction, and Hitler only counted who your grandparents were. He had 4 Jewish grandparents. He was baptised as a little boy, went to a snobbish Catholic school, married a Catholic girl. My mother was Catholic, but that didn't make any difference to Hitler. So, of course, the family wanted to stay together, so the 5 of us, my 2 brothers and I, and my mum and dad, left for calmer shores. Arriving in Sydney in March of 1939 and going immediately the next day to the little local public school was quite an experience for a boy who didn't speak a word of English. He used to being the clever boy, 7.5 years old and always getting good marks. But here I come into the playground and all I encounter is a noisy wall of silence, because 7-year-old boys do tend to run around and scream at each other, only I couldn't understand a word that they were saying. I was a bit of a nerdy kid. I had bookish interests, I always had my nose in a book. I was often solitary, but never lonely. I lived inside my head. Now, the funny thing is, I cannot remember a time when I did not want to become a doctor. I think I've wanted to become a doctor from about the age of 7 or 8. I've always thought that there are 3 things that you need to become a good or a very good scientist. Yes, you obviously have to have intelligence in the sense of being able to analyse a problem and come to the solution quickly. That's a given, of course. Secondly, you've got to have imagination. You've got to be a lateral thinker. You've got to learn how to put disparate things together and come up with a new insight. That was the great gift of my teacher, Sir Macfarlane Burnett, with whom I did my PhD down here in Melbourne. And the third thing, which people do not realise, you have to have drive. You've got to have the drive to do the experiments and bring them to their conclusion. And if the experiment fails, think again and do another experiment, you know. You've got to have a lot of drive. Most people don't realise that. My life has been spent trying to understand how the normal immune system really works. Now, it's a complex system. It's fundamentally based on the white cells of the blood. And in my life, I and my colleagues at the Walter and Eliza Hall Institute have been very lucky because we've got some pretty deep insights into how these cells work. And that's what I look back on with pride. 2 decades, particularly at the beginning. I've worked in research for 4 decades, but the first 2 decades were really good, sorting out how that immune system works. Again, it's all about T cells and B cells and the thymus and the bone marrow and the molecules. And we really led the world in that area, which we called cellular immunology. And above all, I think deep down there is this motivation to join this broad river which is bringing humanity untold benefits through medical research. It mightn't always be expressed, but it's there.